Welcome to this game by Magnus Carlsen and Javokhir Sindarov. Magnus plays white and starts with e4. Sindarov responds with e5. And we get bishop to c4. This is the Italian opening and it has been existing for hundreds of years. It is a very solid opening choice. And Magnus plays c3 with the idea of b4 and d4 both protected by this pawn. Sindarov already goes out of the way so that b4 and d4 don't come with a tempo. One idea now is to play d3 and put the knight on d2. Magnus does that, he wants to put the knight on d2. And Sindarov plays h6 so that bishop g5 doesn't come when knight f6 happens. One idea that black has here is to play knight a5 and pick up this bishop. So Magnus could play a4, a3 or bishop to b3, so that exactly after knight to a5 the bishop can drop back to a2. Now that this doesn't work, black should just simply develop and castle the king, and white should continue with this idea. The knight is on d2. Now we would like to play rook to e1, knight to f1, and put the knight on g3. Or something that we could also do after rook e1 and knight to f1 is play bishop to e3 so that if black takes, we could recapture with the knight. One idea from black here is to play bishop to e6 to challenge this white's bishop. And white can avoid it by going bishop to b5, but the main move here is to take. Good to know is also that you could play a waiting move because black cannot really take this as you will just recapture with your knight. If white takes the bishop, then you do double the pawns, but black has the semi-open f-file, which has its up and down sides. Magnus plays bishop to b5. It can be attacked by knight to a7. Bishop would have to go back to c4. That might cause a 3 moves repetition and could immediately end in a draw. That is why after knight to a7, bishop c4, knight to c6, Magnus should really take on e6 and play from this position on. They are repeating moves of first, but now Magnus plays d4. He does accept those doubled b pawns and he does give up the bishop pair, but he has this very strong center. Sindarov takes this opportunity. And one thing to mention here is that this pawn is currently attacked 2 times and only defended 1 time, so Sindarov should defend it. He defends it, but it's a tactic. I hope that you could see it because it's going to happen in the game anyways. Magnus could now take that pawn. Magnus takes the pawn, and Knight takes is probably the most common move here, which is going to be followed by bishop takes h3. A discovered attack on the knight. Magnus defends it while also activating this knight. Sindarov trades off the queens and puts off his bishop back because it was hanging. Magnus takes on b6. Now black has those doubled pawns. e4 was hanging, so rook d1. He might even want to double his rooks in some time if the bishop moves. Sindarov plays bishop to b3 again, attacking the knight and protecting the d1 square so that no rook d1 is possible. White cannot double his rooks. Again, another tactic from Sindarov. He takes the pawn on e4. Magnus has to take it back. And now f6 comes. This rook is attacked, x-rayed, so white cannot move the knight out of the way. A lot of pieces get traded off. And both sides do have weaknesses. For example, the doubled b-pawns from white and the doubled b-pawns from black. But it is a opposite colored endgame. So it might tend to be drawish if we do trade off the rooks. Magnus plays rook to e7, attacking b7 and g7 at the same time. A very strong move, as he didn't recapture b6 immediately, because it's going to fall anyways. It's a very weak pawn. Magnus has the momentum and he's going to recapture on b7 at any moment. And after this, b6 will also fall, as it's not really possible to stop that from happening. Magnus is up a pawn currently, but it is opposite colored bishops, so it might to be drawish, but it splits, so we never know what's going to happen. b3 fixing this pawn at any time. Magnus shouldn't take this rook trade, as even though he's up a pawn, it is opposite colored bishops, so it's going to be drawn. Magnus is now trying to somehow get into a position where he can push the c-pawn and hopefully make it to a queen. But for that he does have to move his king closer to the pawn. Sindarov again gives up a pawn. White is now going to be up 2 pawns for now, but rook g6 is a great move because white does have to protect the bishop, and after that g2 falls. White is up a pawn, but this is completely drawn. It is a drawn endgame. But with some technique, white could actually turn this into a win, especially in blitz. White should try to reroute the king onto this side and try it from here, because clearly on the king's side. He doesn't have much space, as black can always check him. The king has now managed to get in front of the pawn, but black's king is also extremely close to it, with the bishop and the rook helping. Black has enough defenses so that white cannot really turn this pawn into the victory. There is not really any way to make progress here, as this is covered 2 times. Sindarov offers a rook trade which would end in an immediate draw, and Magnus takes it. Here they both do the handshake, as it is completely drawn now,